Okay, welcome everybody, and let's go around the table and introduce ourselves for the camera. We'll start with you, Sean.
Okay, Sean McGuire, Community Development Director with Sweetgrass Development.
I'm Danny Arps. I'm the grant administrator for Teton County.
Sam Carlson, County Commissioner.
Joe Dellwo, County Commissioner.
Dick Snellman, County Commissioner.
Paul Lick. Today I think I'm the plat.
Nancy Thornton, Eureka Lake resident and local historian.
I think that's a reservoir.
And Melody Martinson, Shoto Camp.
Okay, thank you for everybody for coming. We have minutes from the November 18th meeting.
I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have no road encroachments, and that brings us to the RFP for planning services. And I guess the only one we have is from Staley.
What's the full name, Joe?
Staley Engineering and Associates. Or Staley and Associates Engineering.
Staley and Associates.
I assume that's what it is. It's in a circle.
And where are they from?
They are from Helen, I believe.
Okay.
And those administration offices.
Yeah, RFP. Helen and Bozeman and Billings.
And this is for
Planning Services.
Staley, S-T-A-H-L-E-Y.
L-Y. S-T-A-H-L-Y.
Okay, thank you.
And I assume this is probably about the same. They've been in contact with Paul, asking questions. So maybe, Paul, you could just give a description of.
Okay.
Yes, I can. I'm just trying to think of where to start with all of this. So what the county is looking for is someone to review certificates of survey and subdivisions, which had been my job. The opportunity to contract with someone like this engineering company would take a lot of pressure off the county, either trying to find somebody that has some experience or trying to get somebody up to speed quick enough so that they can start reviewing these. Well, I think that, at least in the short term, at least to contract it out, the fees can be basically recovered through charging the landowner who's doing the division of land the appropriate fee that would offset the cost of Staley Engineering. I did look at their fees, and so that's something that the county would have to do, is put a new fee schedule into our subdivision regulations that match up with the fees that Staley's gonna ask for. I looked at both our current fees and his fee schedule. They aren't that different. For instance, we charge $100 to review a certificate of survey. Staley is gonna charge $200 And, you know, the same can be said of subdivision review. It's gonna be somewhat different, but not way out of the ballpark of what we've already been doing. I think the biggest thing in his proposal is that he gives a list of 18 counties that he's currently providing service for. That's pretty substantial, and with a track history of like starting in 2010. So he's been doing this 11, going on 12 years with some of these counties, and you know, 18 counties have now said, yep, that's going to be the solution to our problem, because I can guarantee you it would be difficult for the county to find a planner willing to move to Teton County and willing to whatever work for the wages that are prevalent in Teton County, when they can go to Billings or Missoula or wherever, and with their planning experience. So I think, yeah, it was gonna be a tough go. So I think that, you know, we have to work through some of the logistics of it all. He wants to do it almost entirely remotely, and I say almost. I'm willing to bet like 99% is gonna be remote from one of his offices. Can we work that into our how we want to do business? I think we can. I think we can make that work. It's gonna take a little bit of, you know, the moving parts of the clerk and recorder's office, the sanitary, and the board of county commissioners. And I feel like we still need a liaison to make sure all those parts work together. And I think that could still be Danny, but you take a lot of the workload off her plate of reviewing these. But she could be the person that kind of just makes sure it's still coordinated the way it needs to be coordinated, and make it all run. So an example is an ag covenant, which you guys are used to me bringing the ag covenant to one of your meetings, me attending that meeting in person. Staley's not gonna do that. So how do we still get that accomplished? And again, I go back to, we need one person to make, you know, maybe that's all they're doing, is just making sure a document is available to have it signed once it's approved and that kind of thing. So there are gonna be some things to work through. And one thing that I notice on this list is of these 18, probably a dozen or more say that the point of contact for Staley Engineering is the clerk and recorder. The clerk and recorder isn't represented here today, so I don't know how that might or may or may
I
not
try
work.
I assume that Danny would be the point of contact in our county.
You guys are pretty quick on that.
Absolutely.
She's getting used to
You're
it.
really quick on that one. But
That's what you get for being so good at your job.
Right.
so even if Danny's doing all the most of the legwork, the clerk and recorder needs to be aware that if there's a problem and they don't have a particular document that they need to record, they need to know, are they going to Danny or are they going straight to Staley and saying, have you gotten this? Why don't I have any paperwork kind of thing?
And we haven't had the time to peruse this, so do they have a format of what they present or will cover with each?
Yeah, that's right.
Program.
They have a regular step-by-step process.
And the counties that he doesn't, like Paul said, maybe a dozen or so of the 18, he just gets, his point of contact is a permanent recorder's office. Those counties don't have a GIS person typically, it's not showing it, from what I can tell in that document, anybody who has a GIS staff, he is contacting them as well. So he contacts the clerk recorder and the GIS. So I think just that overlap of information is important, and I think he'd understand that, you know, we all talk to each other, we're all in the same area here, and so he could contact me, and I would be able to get a hold of them, or he could contact all of us. But we keep that information flow open, so that he can have plenty of contact with everybody.
If I can ask a question, you were saying that all the other departments who you contact, have you discussed with them on this proposal, or
You mean other
our,
counties?
no, our county?
I've made them aware, I've certainly had the conversation with the sanitarian.
Sure.
You guys have had already the conversation with the clerk and recorder, or you wouldn't have answered my one question so quickly.
Right.
So, is it in the mix? Yes, I think everybody's aware of what direction we're trying to go. The real specifics of it all, and maybe we'll probably just have to run a few through the system and go, oh, yeah, we're still missing this step, or how's it get there, and those kinds of things. And I think about, like, sorry, Joe, you got more questions?
That's all right.
Okay, I'm sure you do. I think about subdivision review. Well, so then there's another moving part. Now you need to bring the planning board in as well. And who's gonna do that? Again, I feel like we need somebody here on site that can do that. I don't think Staley can pull together your planning board from Bozeman and say, we're having this meeting, blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, the planning board would have to get way more savvy on Zoom meetings and stuff than they are
And I
right
don't think
now.
he does that for any of the other counties. He's got a pretty established program that he's running that's successful in counties adjacent to Teton County. He's familiar with the area and how things are working.
And we can talk to them about those kinds of things, of like, well, how are you doing them in those other counties?
Sure. Well, I mean, these are just questions.
Sure.
What, and we haven't approved it, like I say, but is he recommending a year or a time frame of a multi-year proposal, or?
I think we can do a yearly contract with them, that's my understanding.
And that's probably would be smart for at least the first year.
So that is staff report listed in those things that he provides. I know that he does provide them, it's just whether that's right there in front of you or not.
Says their staff has streamlined the subdivision administration and criteria review process. It's just,
Yeah. So, and why that's a big deal is that gets Danny off the hook of providing that staff report. And that staff report is based on, again, Montana code and what the review criteria are, all of those things. That's huge, that Danny wouldn't have to do that. That's what we're gonna be paying, Staley Engineering to provide a staff report on each of the subdivisions, so. I think, yeah, that's.
I'm glad you brought that in, because otherwise you couldn't retire, so.
so basically, Paul, after looking at it, is your recommendation to contract with Staley?
It certainly is my recommendation, and I don't know that we have a whole lot other. I mean, I wouldn't say this to Staley, but I don't think we got a ton of other options, but I think it's a good option, just judging by the fact of how many counties he's made this work for. He certainly, my experience with him is that he knows subdivision review pretty much as well as anybody. And, you know, he sent all the documentation about it, who he's got on staff, because a lot of this is gonna filter down. Staley isn't gonna review everyone, but, and, you know, he's got a reputation, so Yeah, I would definitely. However, so Sean, I don't know, in your travels throughout Sweetgrass development, has this topic been a topic of discussion or not?
I've heard it mentioned here and there, but I haven't attended nearly as many meetings as Sarah has. I was started out as the executive assistant, working a lot more behind the scenes. So these are conversations that I'm still very much a rookie to.
Because, I mean, many of these counties that he's listed are also in Sweetgrass development. I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of local counties. So my other question is, would it be your recommendation to take this under advisement and wait till the 16th of December, or do you think we should just do it now?
I
And
think,
also the second part of that question, if we do it now, do we have to make a motion to change the fee schedule so it offsets the cost to the county? I mean, that certainly makes it look more attractive to me if it doesn't cost us anything.
I don't know that they have to be all at once, but that is, yeah, you definitely want to change.
Then we can address it at the planning board meeting coming up.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like that we've already like played this pretty close to the vest, and it's like I would like to see it move forward before I'm out the door. So I would rather see you address it at this meeting, knowing then that at least I accomplished something in my life.
And Joe, you could approve the contract at this meeting. It's a separate motion to change the fees. And I think that you could set that on the agenda for December 16th. And then if anybody had any concerns about the proposal to change those fees upward, they would be able to come to that meeting and voice those concerns.
And I think that kind of has to come from the planning board. We'd have to have their input on that too. So I agree with you. We can just do the contract at this meeting and then.
We could bring the proposed fee schedule to the December 16th.
That makes sense.
We were gonna do a planning board meeting on Tuesday before the
The
Thursday.
14th.
So we would have a
Yeah.
board meeting before our
Yeah,
next
we
board
should
meeting.
be able to discuss that at that planning board meeting.
Well, with that in mind, then I would make a motion to accept the RFP
From Staley.
from Staley for 1 year, or a year at a time. That'll give us some time to make sure everything fits.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
January 1, start date of the contract.
Yes. Well, do we anticipate being able to use them before you leave? Would it be good if we went through the process while you were still here, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Or probably wouldn't be any.
I don't know that it matters one way or the other. I think the question is, Staley's a player in this. You guys may say January 1 and he may say, I can't do it that quick or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to choose a time frame to try and contract with them, I think that's fine. Just realizing Staley has got to say,
Other
yeah,
items on fire. Yeah. So that was your motion, Dick, January 1?
Yeah.
Okay. And your second?
I did.
Okay, and any further discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye. Motion is approved.
Paul or Daniel, when you shoot me an agenda for that planning board meeting so I can get it in the December 8th paper.
Mhm.
Thanks.
It's a good thing I almost did it yesterday now and then went, oh, here's another item to put on the agenda. So,
Lying
yeah.
in bed last
I'll do
night,
it
not
this
sleeping
afternoon.
because I drank coffee in the afternoon. One of me, I just thought, when was the last time you actually had a planning board notice in the paper?
It's been a while.
It's been a while, so yeah, perfect.
So I don't think, if I can just add another thing to all of
Yes.
this that Danny and I were talking about is we have to work through how we're going to collect those fees. And there are little bigger part of the puzzle now. I've never loved the fact of me collecting fees, because my department isn't really set up as like taking money in. The clerk and recorder is very much set up to take money in. So I would like us to consider that as a possibility to say, these fees are gonna go through the clerk and
That'll teach Paula not to show up for the meeting.
And look,
that's why I wanted to get it in.
but that's a good
I think
point.
that's a good idea.
Because we
And it is more doable there.
It's established and it's cleaner.
And that'll teach her to not show up for a meeting.
can put everything on one sheet of paper.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, and I mean, they do it on a daily basis.
Correct.
It's like, holy
And
smokes.
they're set up with the credit card machine.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? Okay, we can move on to commission report. Alan and Sam and I did drive around the northeast corner of the county last week to look at the concerns that we brought up at our last meeting.
Who did, Joe, sorry. Who drove around together?
Alan and Sam and I.
Okay.
To kind of look at the area of the county that Eric had brought up with his concerns. But I believe Alan is gonna meet with Eric and take the grader operator from that area with him as well and see if there's anything that we are missing that we need to be doing better. So that's the only report I had.
I don't have anything further.
Brings us to public comment, Nancy.
By way of introduction, I did the research to put this building on the National Register of Historic Places.
Yep.
Back in 2006. And one of the projects my group participated in was to have the courthouse front lit during the evening. I'd like to commend you for the new contract for Brian Higgy to trim the trees. I know safety is your primary concern, but there's an aesthetic value to that. And that's why I'm here. Aesthetically, there's a small problem with the lights in the front of the courthouse. And the other point of background is that our courthouse and the one in Kalispell are the only two that are in a roundabout in the whole state. So we have a unique perspective on the end challenge of this beautiful old building. With that in mind, I would like you to consider refurbishing the lights because somehow or other, one is flashing out yellow light, the other is flashing out white light at night. Aesthetically, it just won't do. If you're gonna spend $1,000 on the trees, can you find like 500 or something to refurbish the two night lights?
That you're talking about the two out here in the front. We've talked to Brian, the custodian, and he's tried to get an electrician here to do some things. It's kind of like they're in demand and they haven't shown up yet to actually do it. And some of the apparatus in the lights is old, so it has to be replaced, and they're trying to figure out if they can put new fixtures in it, or if it's gotta be dug up and redone. But, that has been a conversation with Brian.
I'm
It's
glad
just
to
like,
hear that.
it's just like we put out an RFP for windows and we didn't get a bid. I mean,
Yeah. People are busy.
we're kinda up against the blaze with
Well,
everybody else.
with the upgrading to LED and, all of
Right.
these new things, it probably would be cost effective in the end, to, find some solution to that. And, before I kick the bucket, it would be nice to see the aesthetics of this building of, to show it off the way it deserves.
Sure.
We'll try to get it done before you kick the bucket. That will be our goal.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Sean, do you have any?
Yeah, just checking in from Sweetgrass Development. Two big topics for us right now is next year, we are gonna be entering into our rewrite of our SEDS document, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. There will be a number of town halls that we'll be holding throughout the region. We held one in Shoto, last time we did this, 5 years ago, and I believe we will be doing, and I expect we'll be doing so again, so, that'll be fun things coming up in 2022. In the meantime, next week, Karbukowski Distillery, who we've been working with, will be hosting a public Q&A at the Stage Stop Inn Tuesday night at 7 p.m. The public is invited and refreshments will be served. They'll be given a main presentation and they'll be taking questions about what they have in mind for their facility.
Are we talking distilled refreshments?
I am told that it will be an all ages spread.
Okay,
But there will, but I know that they'll be very eager to discuss 21 plus offerings that will be available in the future at that location.
We totally want samples, just pass that on to them.
Oh, I'll definitely let them know. And if anyone isn't able to make it, Joe Almeida, their CEO, who will be giving the presentation, will be accepting questions. I've actually brought along a few flyers that folks can take if they want one.
Okay,
And this would be the 7th.
Yep, that would be December 7th.
what time did you say?
That's 7 p.m. at the Stage Stop Inn.
Okay, very good. Any further public comment? If not, our next meeting will be December 16th. And thank you all for coming. And Nancy, you can, I was just gonna make a comment that when we talked with Brian Hagee, he wanted to get the contract because he considers them his trees and he wants to do a very nice job of trimming them. So I was really excited to have the contractor consider that because they're Teton County's trees, he's the owner and he wants to do a really good job.
He's made a tremendous impact among a lot of the tree trimming, the majority of tree trimming in this community,
Yeah,
so
so I'm excited to have him
that's
doing it.
wonderful.
I think aesthetics are important to Brian as well, safety.
Yeah.